Hotep, Shalom, Namaste. Kol Asher Havat wants to welcome you back to another class of esoteric knowledge and occult wisdom. Good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to be learning about fourth dimensional physics and God bodies. There's a lot of talk over the internet that we're going to enter into the fifth age, into the fifth world. The humanity will make a shift into a new dimension, into a new reality. That much I do believe, but they're not really telling you they're not really explaining to you the fifth dimensional physics or nothing like that. But before we get to there, we're going to have to start from the basics. All right. And in actuality, we can't just jump off into something serious in a way. We always have to go step by step. Take that process, you know. Number one, a first dimensional entity. This is field of view of dimensions. This is how entities look at their reality. This is how they perceive their world. A first dimensional entity, the field of view for a first dimensional entity is a point. Because a first dimensional entity is a line. If a line could see, he could only see from this point. That's all he could see would be a point. Period. And through this point, he could see another line maybe. But he's only from one dimension. That's all he can see. However, when you take a line and you rotate it 90 degrees to the right or to the left, you get the second dimension. You get two dimensions. A second dimensional entity. This is where we go to the next step. A second dimensional entity. The field of view of a two-dimensional entity is a line. Because what? A square, a second dimensional entity, he sees horizontal. He sees flat. This little black line you see right here, that black line, this black dot, that black line, that would be the back of his friend from a far distance. This would be his friend when he gets closer to him. He can only see a cross section of him. He doesn't even know he's a full square unless he walked around him and noticed, oh, you a square. But until he does that, he can only see a line of all things. This is his eyes, and this would be his mouth. And as a two-dimensional entity, of course, it would be hard to recognize other objects unless there was some type of unless they had some type of hyper perception of something. Because as long as they can see a line, it could be anything. So a two-dimensional entity, you can tell, would have a hard way of looking at life or their reality. A three-dimensional entity, when you take the line from length and width and you rotate that 90 degrees orthogonal to the other lines, you get the third dimension. 3D entities. This right here was probably going to confuse most of you, but just listen to this. Three-dimensional entities. The field of view of a three-dimensional entity is a square. This is you. Or that could be your friend. This guy right here is your friend. This square is your peripheral vision. This is your peripheral. You have four peripherals. Left, right, up, down. You have four peripheral visions. This is your friend you're looking at. You can see birds, the sun, the clouds, and the tree. You can only see a cross-section of the sun because of your peripheral vision. You can't see the whole sun because of peripheral vision. Also, when you are looking, what you are looking at right now, you're looking at me through a two-dimensional monitor. This right here, I can perceive three dimensions: left, up and down, back and forth, height, length, and width. 3 dimensions. You cannot perceive this looking at the monitor. But if you could see this, if you could go outside and look at any tree, anything outside, you are looking at that from a square, from a two-dimensional point of view. You can perceive three dimensions. You can feel up and down. You can feel left to right and back and forth, but you can't see left to right, back and forth, and up and down. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Oh, here we go. Here we go. A fourth dimensional entity. The field of view for a fourth dimensional entity is a cube. The field of view, the field of vision for a fourth dimensional entity is a cube, which means he can see. Of course, I can't show you on a two-dimensional paper, but this is the best that I can do. This is the best anybody will be able to do on a two-dimensional surface. This is a 2D representation of a 3D cube showing you the fourth dimension. So you're going to have to bear with me right quick. A fourth dimensional entity can see the trees, the bus, behind the trees. He can see behind the person, the dog, the sky, on the other side of the cube, at the bottom of the cube, and to the right of the cube, all at the same time. He can see all of these things at the same time. You cannot do that. You cannot look at your wall and see on the other side of that wall. You can't do it. Why? You have a two-dimensional vision of your world. A square, a flat square living in the two-dimensional world. He cannot perceive the entire square. If his friend was a square, he cannot see the entirety of his friend. When you look at your friend, you can only see the angle you're looking at him from. You can't see the back of him unless you're looking at his back. You cannot see under him or above him. Even if you could, a fourth dimensional entity can see the front of you and behind you all at the same time. Let me explain even further of what I'm talking about. This, what we have, is a representation of a four-dimensional entity having a field of view of a cube. You and I, we can only see, we have four peripheral visions. Period. We only have four peripheral visions. And that's where well, basically we'll get into that in another video. However, I don't want to go too far off topic. But anyway, a fourth dimensional entity can see all things. This is in front of him. He can see the boat on the horizon, the ducks over here, the man eating his noodles, a woman eating an apple, a little boy sleeping. At the simultaneously, he can also see behind him the snake in this garden, a little boy eating ice cream, and his house. He can see this simultaneously. Not only that, but he can also see right directly above him. He can see the bees in the air because he can see a cube. His vision is a cube. He can see up, down, left, right, back, and forth all at the same time. So if a fourth dimensional entity was in here, he can see this cube as it was a cube. You can only see this cube right now as a square. That's what it looks like to you. It looks like a square. A fourth dimensional entity, he can see simultaneously all these sides and angles. That is the power of fourth dimensional physics. Not only could he see above them, but below them. Of course, I can't show you on a two-dimensional surface. You're looking at this from 2 dimensions, but I'm interacting with you through 3 dimensions. So bear with me. I'm about to show you the 4th dimension. Below him, simultaneously, although he can see all these things, below him he could see, let's say, somebody in hell riding a unicycle through fire or something like that. Or he could be on an airplane, and below him is a little boy riding a unicycle. He can see all these things simultaneously. What we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is 4th dimensional physics at its finest. Now, it is theoretically possible for you to reprogram your DNA, and you can also have peripheral vision of a fourth dimensional entity. Why do I say this? 97% of your DNA is unlocked. 97% is unlocked. No, I'm sorry. 97% is locked. 97% of your DNA is locked. So if you could reprogram, cannabis also unlocks your DNA, so you should look into that. But you can reprogram your subconscious at the same time, unlock the 97% of your DNA, tell it to do whatever you want, because you know you're conscious now. You're conscious, so you can reprogram your DNA, tell your DNA what to do, etc. And you can have the peripheral vision of a fourth dimensional entity. You can have the field of view of a fourth dimensional entity. You can have this vision. But also at the same time, we are making the shift into the fifth. This is what's also gonna make it possible. The shift, the fact that we are making a shift into the fifth dimension. I can't really get into much on the fifth dimension right now. I don't have a lot of time. But yeah, this is all you need to know on the basic level of dimensions. There are deeper subjects of the fourth dimension, but when it comes to basic fourth dimension physics, this is the foundation, because this is all your experiences. Right now, there could be a fourth dimensional entity in your room, and you don't even know it. He could be sitting next to you, and you don't even notice him. But he's right there next to you. In the Quran, they call him jinn. They can see you, but you can't see them. They're from the fourth dimension. Right here. Ghost. If a fourth dimensional entity came into the third dimension, he would look like a ghost, because you cannot see a fourth dimensional entity within its entirety. You cannot see the entire being of a fourth dimensional entity. You can't see him in all his splendor. You can't do it. So you perceive him as a mist or a blob or a shadow, because he's from another dimension. Right here. If you could put your finger into the realm of a second dimension, they can only see a cross section of your finger. They can't see the full three-dimensional. They can only see that cross section. And to them, it will look like a flat circle, because your finger is round, cylinder, right? So if you put your finger into a second dimensional entity, they can only see a cross section of your finger. The fourth dimension, ladies and gentlemen, is fourth dimensional physics is very important. If you could unlock your DNA, this is why in the Hindus, their gods had 4 heads. To represent, they could see in all directions. They was from a higher dimension. That's what it represents. That's what the 4 gods of the Hindus represent. They could see in all directions. They was from a higher dimension. They're not from this world. They're from a higher dimension. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to make the shift, you have to alkaline. You have to have a proper alkaline. Come in tune with nature. Have an alkaline diet. Even if you don't need an alkaline diet, why choose to eat meat when nature has provided you with everything? We don't need technology. Technology is to be used. It is to be used, but is not to be desired. Use it to get the message out and help one another. Use technology to spread truth and wisdom, but do not desire the technology for its splendor and awesome colors and beautiful visuals. How can you ascend into the 5th dimension if you have desires of the 3rd dimension? Come in tune with who you are. Come back to source. Back to source. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to tell you, Thank you for coming in and tuning in. We got the basics down. Next video I'm going to do will be about the fifth dimensional physics. But you can unlock your DNA. If you can think it, it is possible. Think and visualize yourself having the vision of a cube. Think you can see up, back, forth, left, down, right. Visualize yourself you can see in all these directions. Of course, it won't happen overnight. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some training. These are my daughter's blocks. And even then, she can't know all the alphabets overnight. So how do you expect to ascend overnight? It's going to take time. You have to have faith in yourself. Believe who you are. Believe what you know is the truth. Let nobody tell you what you can or cannot do. But at the same time, accept opposition. Accept those enemies. They want to tell you and they want to bring you down. Let them talk. But they building a platform for you to stand on to look down at them on. Be righteous and truthful. Have wisdom in all that you do. And you will never be wrong. Because the spirit and the energy won't allow it. Tethastu. Kol Asher Hava. Katiatis. Stay blessed, everybody. Peace.